us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is the brand new BYU football offensive line coach, Darrell Funk. Darrell, welcome to BYU football and BYU Sports Nation.
Awesome. It's great to be here. I'm fired up to be on this morning. You guys doing okay?
We're feeling great.
Feeling fantastic. Right. And it's, hey, we can never talk enough football, even if it's in February, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why
year-round, 24/7.
Absolutely. Why was the BYU position the desired job for you at this point in your life?
Well, this university, this football program has been a benchmark of excellence for years and years, as long as I've been aware of football, which is a long time since I grew up. I had a football in my crib at one point, so it's been a long time. So to have a chance to join a program like this, not only just the program and everything they've accomplished, but specifically offensive line. This place has produced a ton of great offensive linemen and, as importantly, great offensive lines in unison, which is really what I try to hit. I mean, it's great to have great players, but when they've played so well together over the years and just dominated football games year in, year out, decade after decade, I mean, that to me, it doesn't get any better than this.
Coach, you've had a long career in this business, but most recently you were at UTSA back in 2019. You weren't on a staff in 2020. Give everybody an idea of what you've been up to over the last year, obviously with COVID and everything else, you know, that everybody's been dealing with. What's the last year been like for you?
Yeah, I was at UTSA for a few years, and after the 19 season, the staff left, and I was in the process of, right before COVID hit, I had some interviews lined up. I had some things going on, and it was looking like there would be some things, and all of a sudden that thing hit. And as you know, all of a sudden you weren't flying, you weren't interviewing, you weren't doing that. And then they started hiring freezes and everything. And then it just kind of went like that. I had a few opportunities that I thought maybe I should just wait and see. But what ended up happening, and I've always been a person who looks for that silver lining in every cloud. Did I want to sit for a year? No. Did I need to? Someone asked me, well, maybe you recharge your batteries in that year. I didn't need my batteries recharged. It wasn't a situation like that. But what's cool about it is after I kind of finally figured out, okay, I don't even know if there's going to be a college season, I just went right to work in terms of, in fact, I bought a terrific computer system for digital video. And as much of a football junkie as I think I am, I became even more. And I watched more football and just studied the game and schemes and watched offenses and watched defenses and worked hard to become a better coach, so that whether it ended up happening last spring or maybe even this summer or fall, there were a couple opportunities, or this cycle, that I'd be ready. But it actually turned into a positive. Got a chance. I mean, my wife Teresa is awesome. We've been together over 30 years, and it gave me a chance. She probably would say, wow, that you were around a lot, you know, this last year and all that. And I'm sure she did, but it gave us a chance to get reconnected a bit. My kids are great. They're all over the country. Two of them are still in school. One's coaching at Indiana State. And so the only regret I have of that, because I really benefited a lot as a coach this fall, but I wish I would have been able maybe to go to, travel, visit a couple staffs, which, some people do when they're taking a year out of it. And that didn't happen. But I enjoyed it, and it's prepped me for this opportunity. Now I'm raring to go. I can tell you that.
New BYU offensive line coach Darrell Funk with us on BYU Sports Nation. You talk about those family relationships. Those are obviously critical and drive all of us. There are also relationships within the football world, which feels like a family. So where did the ties begin for you and your football family at BYU with Kalani Sitake or any other member of the current BYU football staff?
Yeah, well, really the first connections that we made were from across the sidelines, because while they were both while Kalani and Aaron were both at Utah, I had spent time competing against them when I was at Colorado State and then again at San Diego State. So the first part of it was just knowing each other, competing against each other, the respect you gain when you battle. We had some good battles between the two schools. And so that was kind of the start of it, because I think we knew of each other and different things weren't close or anything, but that's where it started. And then what happened as this job opened up, the football business is just like a lot of things. It's a huge network of it's a brotherhood, but it's a huge network of, it's former coaches, assistants. You worked with this guy, you worked with him. And what ended up happening is my close my real closest network that I have to me really aligned well with Kalani's and Aaron's, and people that we had both not only worked with, but trusted. Kind of went two ways. That kind of opened the door for it. And then the conversations on the phone became longer and longer and getting more detailed. And there were a lot of things that I thought were really aligned. Not only the desire to come to a program like this, but also, what they've been doing up front, things that I've done in the past. And I think it just, I felt really connected with A-Rod from the jump. And then as Coach Sataki and I, got together, it just became a really good match. So I'm excited, but it's funny because sometimes you get jobs because you played for someone or you coached with someone or all that. This was a little bit different, but it really has worked out well for me, and I can't wait to get going. I've not even been in the building 48 hours. In fact, it'll be 48 hours in 2 hours. So I've got a lot to get caught up on, but I'm sure excited to be here and get ready for spring ball.
Well, I'm sure you've put that digital video system that you bought to good use. And even though it's been a short time, I'm sure you've had a chance to look at the BYU offensive line, certainly losing some of the players to the NFL that were on the team last year. What do you feel you have at that position right now, even though it's early right now?
Yeah, well, I had watched a lot of tape, and ironically, even before this whole situation opened up, I had watched a lot of BYU games, starting with the opener and just watching what they had done, and the style of play really fit with a lot of places that I've been. And so I had watched a ton, and then when I got involved in it, obviously I went back to it and watched. And I know we're losing some really good players. I get that, but when I look at it, I keep asking. Well, now I'm a little bit better, but for a couple of days I was like, oh wait, who's this? I don't recognize that number. Who's this name? And I'm still catching up. I've met with the O-line, and I met with about half of them individually, so I'm still working on that. But I really feel good about the guys coming back. We've got I think a great combination of guys that have played a lot of football. James Epi comes to mind with all his starts, and Big Blake Freeland, and some other guys that have played a lot of football. And yet there's some younger guys that are exciting. There's some newcomers that are coming in. And one thing, and I talked to the linemen at length about this, we have some guys that maybe at one point were tight ends or defensive linemen. Throughout my time coaching, I've had a ton of guys that have really become great offensive linemen that maybe grudgingly moved from tight end there. Maybe they had to pull them a little bit to get them away from throwing past Skelly and all that. But once they bought in and they realized, wow, my athleticism in this room, and now I just got to get bigger and learn it. But you've got that sprinkled in. So I really like the kids. They're hardworking. One thing that jumped out at me, and it's always one of the first things I look for, not only when I'm looking at offenses, but also defenses, how hard they play. These kids in this program play hard. They play hard. They play fast. They have a great system. And I'm just looking forward to not only continuing, working to continue where they left off and build on it. But also, I've done this over 30 years. There'll be a few little wrinkles here or there, or something that we'll work on. But for the most part, I'm just excited to take this group where they left off and just run from there and have a great spring and just see how it all shakes out. But I'm fired up about the room.
What's your offensive line coaching philosophy or motto, if you have one?
Well, there's a lot of ways that people look at that. And if you ask 10 offensive line coaches, you might get 10 different answers. But to me, even though I try to stay on the cutting edge of all the new things in offense, the game comes down to toughness. It's blocking and tackling, but that stems from toughness. So for me, it's always going to start with toughness. And that's a general word. What does that actually mean? There's a lot of ways to measure it, but we're going to recruit toughness here. They have recruited toughness here. And we're going to, so that to me is always the first thing that I look for. In fact, in my meeting with those guys the other day, I realized we had, different things we were covering, and I used the word toughness quite a bit, and they know it. And that's all physical, mental toughness. Obviously, you have to have the skill sets, the size, different things. But I've had a lot of great players that have gone on to the NFL. And one of my best players was 6'1", 287, and he won the Remington Award one. So, you don't have to be, even though we got some monsters in there. We got these guys that are 6'8", 320, 6'8", 3. We've got some of those. But you have to have that ability, and the skills, the size to be able to do that. So you're looking for that. But to me, the other part of it, the effort. I think you judge a coach in any position by how hard their kids play. And I take pride in preaching that and making sure that they can go full speed. I talked to the kids the other day, they got to know exactly what they're doing, which is my job, to go full speed. So it all fits in together. But effort is huge. And then the other part, we will always stress the fundamentals of the game. Yeah, there's some different techniques you can use. There's a couple things. Okay, this might be a good change-up block or a change-up pass set or something. But we're going to be fundamentally sound. We're gonna play the game the right way. We're gonna run the football. We're gonna protect. We're gonna put it all together. And I think this group has obviously the base fundamentals down. Like I said, there'll be a couple little things we'll work on. I told them I may make a call one time and they look at me like, I got 3 heads or whatever. I'm like, oh, sorry, I've been using that call for 28 years, but I'm going to use yours. So I'll have to transition a little bit, but I think it's going to be seamless, just judging from my meetings with them so far. Everyone, they seem excited. They seem ready to go. And I just can't wait to get them out on the field and start working on our trade.
So you've referenced San Diego State, you referenced Colorado State, you're a Fort Collins native, you played at Colorado State. So I'm going to assume that maybe your impression or how you viewed BYU was maybe slightly different back in the day than maybe it is now that you're wearing the Y. I'm curious what that dynamic has been like, going from probably not liking BYU too much as a player to now being part of BYU.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I've been thinking about that a lot because you're right. I mean, when you're an opponent playing against BYU every year, I mean, if you say you don't like them, it's only because they're the best. If you say you don't like them, it's because you're trying to gear yourself up. We always had great respect for BYU, no matter where I was playing, and you knew it was going to be not only great players but well coached, and they're going to play hard, and so there was that. But that was certainly. Every place I've been, we played them. That was one of the games on the schedule. You look and you're like, okay, we got to be ready for that one. But what's interesting, as you mentioned it, and my history playing against BYU has been, up and down. Obviously, BYU's won a lot of games, so a lot of opponents haven't fared well. But I remember coming to this stadium. Steve Young's last year was my first year, and I'd only played special teams. But being there and watching him run around and moving, not knowing what he would do in the future. And I'm in awe of that. And the second year was my actual first start. The national championship year was my first start back at Hughes Stadium in Fort Collins against that team. And I don't remember all the names up front on that defense. All I know is they were some big guys, and I was a young tight end. I was a heavy tight end. I got moved from O-line in training camp because we had an injury. But anyway, and then playing against, and then we won here in '86. Had a little comeback and won the game here in '86. So as a player, going 1-3 as a player isn't something to write home about. But if you think of it, well, you won at LaVell Edwards Stadium. That's a pretty good accomplishment for Colorado State back in '86, and it was a big game. Now, when you fast forward, when I was, at San Diego State, and we had, we had a couple. Well, even before that, when I was coaching at Colorado State. Again, that was a big game. We won here in '03, played really well. I don't remember the other games. I just can't remember, but I know we won here. So I won twice here. And then San Diego State, we played pretty tough the first year when I was there, and then the second year had a battle here and lost. But just nothing but respect. But always a game you didn't have trouble getting up for as a player, or you didn't have trouble getting the kids up to play BYU. And I know that's still the case for people coming into our building.
We wholeheartedly wish you many, many more victories in LaVell Edwards Stadium.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate that.
Coach, it's great to talk with you. Again, welcome to the BYU football program, and we'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. You guys have a great day. Appreciate you having me on.
You got it. Darrell Funk on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.
Yeah, that's got to be,